Well, I'm Tom Blackman, and I'm the owner of GT Modern, and my shop specializes in vintage items, 1980s and earlier. And I know it's sometimes hard to think of the 1980s as vintage, but we're getting the 20-plus year range now, and so those are the things that I sell. One of the areas that I specialize in is vintage lighting, and also lighting that I have built from scratch. And this tripod light here is an example of the type of work that I do. And this light came about working with a client whose husband is a surveyor, and she wanted a special light for him for his office. And so I happened to have a surveyor's tripod and showed her the tripod, and then we talked through some ideas about what we could do to build a nice light for his office. So I had another shade here. This was also from around the 1920s, as was the tripod, and I suggested that we grafted the two pieces together. So basically the parts that I fabricated were this part here, that's an interface to hold the shade steadily onto the tripod, and then I did a vintage style cord using a abrasion resistant jacket on there so the cord's nice and strong, and it also appears as a vintage cord. Some of the other things that I did was I refinished the legs so they appeared like they were well cared for rather than worn out. In the original appearance, this looked like a piece of old barn board. It was very dry and not very nice looking, but I managed to retain the character of an old piece without making it look overdone. I also put a foot switch on this to give it a little more utility and make it easier to use. And then cleaned everything up and put it all together out here for sale. And so this was a fun one to do, because one of the things that I try to do when I build a light is make it look like everything came that way from the factory. And this light never existed in any way before I did it, and I'm rather pleased with the outcome. So this is one of the things that I do, vintage lighting, and I also restore lights as well. These lights were all in one way or another not working when I got them, and I use all UL approved parts when I repair them. Everything goes back together the way it should, including putting an underwriter's knot on the cord so it's got the proper strain relief, making sure proper insulation is in place on all the sockets. In the case of this light, I used a brand new UL approved ceramic socket on it, so it's going to have good durability and it's going to last the customer and be nice and durable for as long as they have it. So that's what I do here at GT Modern.